Guys, welcome back to another episode of Cerebral Conversations. And like I always say, all the interviews are special, but this one is special because this is my fourth person I'm interviewing from TikTok, and I'm gonna have her go introduce herself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Ashley.
Okay, this is Ashley, and the usual first question, I'm I can't really ask, so I'm gonna switch it up a little bit.
Okay.
How did you end up finding me on TikTok? And am I the first person that you've seen on TikTok with the disability that does fitness?
I believe so, yes. And I think you just came across my FYP. And I love a good story of someone trying to improve their self. So I just started following you.
Nice, nice. Yeah, because when it came to TikTok, I think I've said this before, but when I came to TikTok, it still kind of surprises me because I just started recording my workouts like on a whim. I was started using TikTok for my interview clips and stuff like that. But then one day I was at the gym and I was like, you know what? Let me record it and see how it does. Because for the longest time I was like, I didn't want to be, like the guy that, has the tripod and sets up the tripod everywhere, records every minute, every second of their workout. So what I do now is I usually record like the first or the last set, and then I put the clips together and stuff. So that's how the workouts usually work. But so one of the questions I've been wanting to ask you this for a while. What's it like living in another country?
It's an adjustment. It took me a little while to learn to live in another country because everything is different, but it's a great experience. I feel like not very many Americans get to live in another country. Very few get to live in Africa. And I feel blessed for the opportunity to get to do this.
Nice, nice. Because for the longest since I was following you, I'm like, wow, she has a long distance relationship and she's willing to like basically just take her entire life and then move. Because normally you would see it be the opposite way. They would move from the other country over to America. You don't really get to see it from the other side, like moving from America to the other country. Because as far as America goes, we I'm not sure how other countries work because I've lived in my America whole life. But when it comes to Americas, we think we have the best. We think we have the best of the best, and we don't really get to see outside of our other country. Or if we do, we normally just go to like the touristy spots that are more accommodating to Americans.
Definitely. It's definitely different living in Morocco and not living in a tourist area. It's considered a town, but it's very small. There are no big stores, no malls, no movie theaters, no chain restaurants, nothing like that. So it's definitely an experience.
So how's the so another question I want to ask based on that. How's the adjustment been for your husband having you there?
He loves it. We've been together for 3 years now, and for the first 2 years, I would go home for 3 months, come back for 3 months, and we would just do that for years. And it got to the point where that was too much on my body because I have health problems. And we just decided in January I was just going to come until we get his visa and everything, and then we'll go back to America.
Oh, okay. So the last question I wanted to ask on this topic before we transition a little bit. What was it like for you? What was it like when your parents found out that you were gonna be deciding to move? Was there any pushback at all? Was there any, trepidations?
No, by the time I was deciding to move here, this we've already been doing this for a very long time. They love Mohammed and they can't wait for him to be able to come there, but they completely understand that it's very hard to be in a long distance relationship for years and years, and they just want to see me happy. So they've been completely supportive.
Yeah. That's good because I see you guys on TikTok and your pictures and I'm like. and they're genuinely happy because you don't because with social media we just see like the highlights and stuff. I'm sure you guys go through your issues and stuff, but from what I've seen, it seems like you guys like genuinely enjoy each other and are genuinely happy.
We really are. And we don't have any issues. We really are soulmates. We don't have problems. We understand each other without even having to talk. So it's just the perfect situation.
Mhm. So um to tran to transition to ask another question. I don't want to make this interview all about me, but I wanted to ask like what are some things from seeing my posts and stuff that you kind of learned about me and kind of like try to implement into your life?
I would say that you really are an inspiration. You have every excuse in the world, but yet you keep getting up every day. And I've seen you get stronger and stronger. So it's been making me want to put some effort into getting a little stronger. I do have health problems, but it's no excuse for me to not put a little bit more effort into putting some strength in my body.
Yeah, that's good. That's good because for the longest time I used to like, I don't want to say the word hate because it sounds too harsh, but for lack of a better term, I used to hate when people used to call me that because I didn't really feel like I was doing anything special. Like even now I still don't, but as I'm getting older, I'm starting to see like as I'm starting to see, people like you, and then, I even have parents of kids with cerebral palsy and other disabilities commenting like, "Oh my God, like this is great because I have a son that's going through the same thing," or "This can be such a good inspiration for my child," and I can show them like just because they're limited in certain capacities doesn't mean that they can't do certain things. So it's been really, really like cool to see that, and it makes me feel, it gets me wanting to do more of that stuff. So.
Yeah, I can understand how people see it and they are inspired by it. I don't think people mean offense to it, but I've worked in healthcare and I've seen people who other people tell them they can't do stuff, so they don't, or they just ultimately feel limited in what they can do. But you don't seem limited. You seem like you are out here doing whatever makes you feel happy, whatever makes you feel strong.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. And it's again, like I said, it's been an I still find it crazy that people actually give a crap about what I have to say and what I post. It's still crazy to me. I know I don't have like the biggest of following or whatever, but I know that doesn't matter. But it's the fact that people actually want to see what I'm doing and stuff that's kind of cool.
You are important. It doesn't matter if how many followers you have. People check in on you. I see them in your comments.
Hmm. So the next question I have is since you're living in Morocco, what's been the biggest difference from there compared to here, and what's been like the hardest thing to kind of transition to?
I would say the hardest thing overall about Morocco is driving here. I have serious anxiety with driving here. They do not drive the same as us. They will make their own lanes. It becomes chaos. And so when I'm at home, I like to just go for a drive to clear my head, but that's not really an option here because it just adds more stress. So that's probably been the biggest change that I've had about moving here.
Nice. So, and again, another question about Morocco. What's the food like? Because I see your posts on like the food and stuff, and some of it looks really good. Is there like some foods that you didn't think that you would like that you ended up liking after moving?
I, I'm actually super surprised how much I like Moroccan food. Um, it's it's all really good. They make their traditional thing is a tagine, where they take the little pot. You've probably seen it on my page before. It has like the lid on it, and it kind
Hmm.
of steams it and like crisps the bottom a little bit, but steams the top. And they don't over season things here, like just enough seasoning to give it flavor without too much. And my stomach being sensitive, uh, here food seems to do better with me. I have less problems with my stomach. I can eat a lot better, a lot easier here than I do when I'm in America.
from what it seems like from what I'm taking from it, they don't since they don't use a lot of seasoning, they tend to use a lot more of the natural flavors from the food rather than
Yeah, yeah, they put a little seasoning in it, cumin, salt, pepper, saffron, stuff like that. But they just don't. There's not all of like the spice blends, and if you start to put all that stuff on your food, it starts to get a little salty, and it can irritate
yeah.
my stomach a little bit.
So what advice do you have for people that are in long distance relationships like yourselves, and what is something that you've learned from being in a long distance relationship that you can, impart on to others?
So if we're talking about just long distance relationships, communication is key. Just make sure that you don't forget about the person throughout the day because sometimes it's hard and you're busy and you sometimes will forget to check in or whatever, and that can feel really uncomfortable when you're that far away. But I'm also in a mixed marriage. So I'm married to an Amazigh Moroccan and I'm an American. And the the thing about that would be don't let anybody change your mind. A lot of people had a lot of negative things to say when I started all of this, and they wanted to put projections onto the relationship and stereotypes and all of that. And if I would have listened to them, I would not be as happy as I am today.
And that's good. That's good. And as far as long distance relationship goes, was there ever a point that you thought it was too much?
Honestly, no, no. I never considered that it was too much. I always thought that we would make it one way or the other. If I had lived here or he ended up with me first or however it worked, I knew we would make it.
That, that's good. Because normally I'm going based off of what I've seen, but 'cause normally when it comes to long distance relationships, you have a lot of people that say, "Oh, I can't do it because of this, and this. I need, because everyone has their things that they need. But if it's but like you said, if it's something that you really, really want to pursue, you wouldn't let that get in the way of that, regardless of how long it takes. You might be able to see them after a year, might not be able to see them after a few months, but if it's something you really, really want, you're gonna push through and get it
Definitely.
done.
Everything is hard. Life is hard. It's pick your hard. So
Yeah.
I had already healed to a level by the time I met him that I was super secure in myself and really independent and kind of used to doing my own thing anyways. So I felt like if I would have met him 5 years earlier, I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it. And that's just the truth because of where I was in my life and having a lot of insecurities and kind of needing someone to just be there with me all the time. But
Mm.
thankfully, by the time I had met him, I was no longer in that stage of my life.
Yeah, and that's good. And that's good, especially for, because me myself, I kind of deal with I'm starting to get over it, but I deal with insecurity. I deal with insecurities in myself. I don't show it. It doesn't show on my page. I kind of want to keep that away, but it's it's like I said before in one of my videos when the person I was interviewing before, they asked me, how could you say so confident? I'm like, it's not that I even said, and I made a video about it. I said, it's not that I'm confident, it's just that I have the drive and the will to want to, prove people wrong and kind of prove to myself that I can do it, that it comes off as confident, but I don't really feel like I'm the most confident person in the world. It's starting to change a little bit, as I'm getting older and, as I'm putting myself out there more, which is good. But yeah, what you said definitely is definitely true. You
Yeah,
meet you meet
I
certain
had to fake it till I made it.
Mhm.
I was the same way at first. I wanted to prove people wrong and I wanted to just kind of let people think, oh, she's actually healing and getting better and doesn't care. And at first it was just a front. But eventually when I really started doing the work and the longer I did it, I realized, oh, I really have gotten better. I really have changed.
It was the same thing. It was the same thing for me when it came to starting the whole fitness journey thing, because for the longest time I didn't think I you've seen my progress pictures, how skinny I was in the beginning.
Yeah.
I didn't ever think I was gonna get any bigger. And when I started working out, I could barely lift like 20, 30 pounds. And now I'm just like, I'm benching almost 50. I'm on it's on the Smith machine, not actual, but I'm benching
Oh,
50 pounds a few times. And I look at my legs, and sometimes, I mean, body dysmorphia is a thing. I think I'm smaller than I actually am, but then I actually see pictures of my legs, and I'm like, wait, my legs have gotten a little bigger.
you
I'm
have.
walking a lot better. I'm standing a little better. My balance is getting a lot better. Are there days where I struggle? Of course, but recovery is like the most important thing for me,
That's right.
especially now that I'm getting older, because there's some things I used to do when I was in my 20s and in my 30s. It's like, oh, I gotta stretch before I do this. I gotta make sure I massage my legs before I do this now. I can't just hop up and just go like I used to.
Definitely.
So just a couple more questions and we'll get out of here because I know you probably got stuff to do and I know it's probably late as hell over there too.
It's actually only 7:19 right now.
Oh
So
wow.
we fell back an hour, so now we're only 5 hours away from America instead of six.
Oh, okay, okay. So so my next question is there any are there any questions that you've ever wanted to ask me?
Well, you don't really ever talk much about like your family. I always wondered like, do you have a big family? Do you have people that support you? I've never really seen you say anything about like, your support system.
Yes, I do. I do actually have a big family. On my mom's side, my grandmother, when she was born, there was 16 of them. So I have a lot of, yeah. There's only a few of them left, but I do have a lot of cousins, a lot of uncles, a lot of older cousins that are considered uncles because they're technically my
That's
mom's
awesome.
cousins. But yeah. And and then on my dad's side, I have my uncle, my stepmom, and my stepsister. And then on my mom's side, I have my mom, my grandmother, my aunt, and my sister, and my sister, and a bunch of other close friends and stuff. So they've been, and mentors and a bunch of other really close friends, and they've been instrumental in helping me get this far. Because just as much as I've put in the work, there's been days where I've wanted to quit. And then I'll talk to my friends that are like brothers to me now, and they're like, you said you were gonna get this shit done. Go ahead and get it done.
You got to have those friends.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm that friend for them too. It's
And
like
that's
all three of us, we all keep each other in check when it comes to certain things like that. So, but without that support system, I wouldn't have gotten this far. I probably would still be in that depressive state I was when I was 19. So
mm, I'm proud of you. You've really come a long way just since I've been seeing you. So I can only imagine how well you've been doing, in a bigger time frame.
mm, thank you. I appreciate
You're
that.
welcome.
So is that the only question, or do you have another one?
I think that's it. I don't think I had any other questions.
So I'm gonna keep it to two more questions because I only have 40 minutes on the Zoom call and I'm not sure how long we've been going. It feels like we've been going for shorter, but it's probably been a little
We've been
longer.
going for 21.
Oh, we have?
Yeah,
Okay, so I got some time, but um, hmm, this is the downside of these things being off the cuff. I kind of run out of stuff to say, but this is a conversation. It happens in conversations like this.
it does. Yeah.
But
Especially since we see each other every day. Like I look at your stuff every day, you look at my stuff every day. So we pretty much know what we got going on.
yeah. So you mentioned that you had health issues. You mentioned that you had health issues. Was there ever times where while you were trying, improve and get a little better, that you just wanted to stop and just let those health situations kind of just take over and let it?
Definitely. Yeah. I think I had the surgery that almost killed me in 2015. And it took me 3 years of just wallowing in my pity to even attempt to do anything. And then when I attempted and I got pushback, I just gave up again. And then it was the second time that I was like, okay, I'm gonna heal myself. I'm gonna figure something out. I can't live like this anymore. That I actually make progress.
Nice, nice. And then and yeah, especially when it comes to I relate to that a lot, especially when it comes to the pushback, because there's been times where back in the day I've wanted to do stuff and I'll get a little bit of pushback and then I'm like, well, I guess I can't, so I'm just gonna sit here and
Yeah,
let things be the way they are. I don't think I can, do anything else. But it wasn't until that I decided that I wanted to do it that things ended up getting better. Because for the longest time, I would be told to do stuff, but and then I would start, but then I would stop, and I would realize that I'm only doing it because I feel like that's what they would want. It's not something that I would want. So I'm starting to, kind of figure out what is it that at 31 years old, I'm starting to kind of figure out what it is that I want to do and what it is that I want to achieve and stuff. Because for the longest time, I didn't want to do anything. Because if I felt like if I did something, it's only because they told me to do it or that's what they would want. So and and back then it kind of made me like not want to do anything.
I definitely understand that. I definitely went through a patch where I was pretty much just being told how to feel, what to do, all of that. So it took me quite a while to get to where I am today and to learn that, you got to have supportive people around you and people who want to just make your decisions for you and don't want to support you if you don't want to do what they think you should do. You have to kind of leave those type of people alone if you want to get to a happy level in your life, because every decision you make, there's going to at least be one person that thinks, oh, that's not a good decision. So I had to learn that as long as I'm happy, that's all that matters.
Yeah, for sure. And going back to those people that think that's not a good decision, well, it's it's my life. I'm allowed to make my own decisions and I have to live with the consequences. So
Exactly. We're the
my
only ones that will be responsible for our decisions. So it doesn't really matter what other people think.
yeah. So the last question I wanted to ask, um, and I wanted to ask this because I kind of dealt with this myself with with all with your medical issues that you were dealing with heavy with back then and still kind of dealing with now, but have gotten over with. Has there ever been times where your parents were like kind of too overprotective and didn't let you take any risks?
Oh, it was bad. And I was 25, 26-ish when all of it started. And I had already been living out on my own for a very long time. And when I got really sick, my mom, she didn't handle it very well because there was 8 times over the course of the 7 years that they told her I wasn't going to make it. So with each time that I did get better after she thought I wasn't going to live, she got more and more and more overprotective. And I understood why, but at the same time, it was too much for me to take. It was really hard. She would tell people who could come and visit me and who couldn't. She would tell people, she would get on their case about washing their hands and all of that kind of stuff. And she became very protective over people being around me and what they would say to me and all of that kind of stuff. So when I first decided I wanted to come visit Morocco before I moved here, it was a lot for them. It was a lot for them to take. They were worried about my health. Well, what if something happens while you're there? Are you going to have enough medicine? And it was very hard for them, but I lived for 10 solid years confined to a hospital room, doctor's visits, surgeries, and I had decided that I wanted to do something. I wanted to go somewhere. I wanted to do something big and to make some meaning out of my life, because to this day, there's no answer as to how long I'll live with the way that my vows are now. So I need to enjoy every day just in case.
Because that's something. That's something, especially when I was younger, growing up, that I kind of dealt with. There were times where I would want to do things, and if you see me drinking water, I have my water. So
I got you too.
yeah. So yeah, like I was saying, there were times where I was younger, growing up. When I was younger, I would always fall a lot because my balance wasn't that great. And after falling like three, four times and the constant scrapes, my mom would always say, "Well, you can't go outside today." And I'd be like, "Oh, why?" But all my friends were outside, and they're like, "No, because I don't want you to fall. I don't want you to do this, and that." And and my mom at a point was like, at some point she was like really, really, really overprotective of me. She wouldn't let me do things. I like when I went outside, I would have to wear knee pads and elbow pads and stuff like that, so I wouldn't get scraped. But knee pads and elbow pads are sometimes really restrictive, and it's like I can't really move the way I want to move. So it, I definitely understand what you're talking about with the overprotectiveness and stuff, because my mom was like that for a while too.
But she's better now.
Well, yeah, when it comes to me driving, she's still but yeah, yeah, she's pretty mad. At 31, she's not as she understands like yeah, he's an adult, he's gonna do what he wants to do. When it comes to driving, it's still it's yeah. Like I got my license and everything. She's been with me on a test drive. She said I drive real well, but when it comes to me driving her car, it's a no.
Yeah, it's a protection thing. She just worries sick about the.
Yeah.
I understand it, but it doesn't make it any easier for us when we're actually experiencing it. We can understand something and it still bother us.
Hmm. So I think so. Did you have before I end this? Did you have any advice for anyone going through health issues like yourself, or anyone that's trying to do what you did as far as move across the country and go to another country to live?
Just don't let anybody tell you what you're doing with your life. Don't let any doctor tell you you're going to die. If you don't think you're going to die, don't give up. Just keep going because I got told a lot of times that I wasn't going to make it, that there was no way that I was going to make it. And look at me now, here around. So I'm really glad that I had that spirit. I've always had that spirit about me. The more someone tells me I can't do something, the more I'm going to try to do it. So
That yep, that's exactly how I am. And sometimes it's to my detriment, and
it is.
sometimes
Hey, I
it's to
haven't
my
always been
detriment.
right. But
But
luckily for the past few years that it's been successful to me to do a healing thing and to not let people cross my boundaries and to just continue to do what makes me happy. So that's the only advice I have to every human. It's just do what makes you happy. Don't worry about what other people are doing, what they're gonna say, nothing. Oh, and don't go back to collect people. If they weren't supportive whenever you were doing all that, just leave them where they are and keep keep going forward.
thank you. That's actually great. That's actually great. And I think I have one more thing. If you see me on my phone, it's because I'm looking for a quote, and I want your opinion on the quote. Because
Yeah, go for it.
I've been reading this book recently called Atomic Habits,
Okay.
and I took a couple quotes from it, and I want your opinion on one of them. Just give me one second. Um, so give me one second. Okay, so one of the quotes from the book that really kind of hit me was you have a new goal and you have a new plan, but you haven't changed who you are. So what do you take from that when you hear it?
Um, you can make 1,000 plans and you can make all the goals you want, but until you actually start making changes within yourself, you, I mean, they may not always work out. I had to stop and make changes within myself, learn what boundaries were, learn what shadow work was, learn what healing really meant before any of my goals and plans ever came to life.
Nice, nice. I could and Yeah, that means a lot, especially because I was reading the book. I've been reading the book the past couple of days, and I'm like, oh, that makes a lot of sense. Oh, I didn't realize I was doing that. Oh, I didn't realize that's why I wasn't progressing in this area and all this sort of stuff. So reading it has been sort of an eye opener because there's things that I've been doing that I didn't realize that was holding me back. Like like in terms of because everybody has goals that they want to reach. It's like okay, you have the goal, but how are you gonna get there? And nobody has the how, or they have the how, but they're not implementing the little habits to
Hmm.
get to the how to and then make their bigger goals work. So that's what the gist of the book is about. And I'm like 40, 50 pages in and I'm loving it so far.
That's a good book. I'll have to check that out too. Yeah, I would say making the goal is one thing, but don't make the plan until you have the habits, the behaviors, the change within yourself to keep the plan. Because that's when people get discouraged because they keep making goals and plans and they don't pan out because you're not there yet. You're trying to move too quickly.
Yes, for sure. For sure. But all right, you guys, that's been this episode of Cerebral Conversations. Again, thank you to Ashley for doing this. She did not have to. She's around like a bajillion hours away, so for her to take time out of her day to do this is really really special, and I really really appreciate it. And if there's anything you want to plug before we get out of here, you can definitely do so.
I got nothing else to say.
All right. So again, thank you to Ashley for being on, and I really really appreciate it. And I'll catch you guys next time.